name is Nikith, and welcome to a new episode of TTP, the Transetter Podcast. I'm very excited for this episode today because I have a very special guest. I met him like 1 or 2 years ago at the Riverside Pride. He's a photographer, and he has a powerful message and story he'd like to share with us. Everyone make some noise for my boy, Stephen Day. Yeah.
Hey.
Welcome, Stephen. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for taking the time with being with me today. I know you're busy and got a busy
Happy to be here. So
Yes, yes. Before we get into the questions, I want to start off with a little icebreaker. Keep it
okay.
simple. I wanted to know if you had any superpower, what would it be and why?
I would want to be able to understand all languages.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good
Yeah.
one.
And mostly because I for a little while I was learning to speak Mandarin Chinese, which was
Yeah.
amazing. And I actually spent a little time. There's the
Yes.
spent a little time in China, and
Uh-huh.
it was so amazing to be able to communicate, even on the limited basis that I could.
Yeah.
But it's like every now and then, like I live in a very diverse area, and so there's a lot of people that speak a lot of different languages, and sometimes it's super frustrating. And so I would just love to be able to talk to just anybody and not have to have that language barrier.
Yes, I love that. And I'm with that too because I love to travel a lot. And I would love to just travel, all around the world and just know all the languages. Like you said, just communicate with anybody,
Mhm.
you don't got to like stutter or nothing or no words,
Right. Yes, and then like if I had any other ones, they would inevitably lead me to a life of crime. So I've got to stay away from that. So
Yes, for sure, for sure. I love it. I know me and you met at the 2023 Riverside Pride.
Mhm.
How was that for you? I know you had told me that was your first time doing photography. So how was that experience doing photography, seeing all the talent and just capturing those moments in that powerful moment? How was that for you?
it was really cool. I've been doing semi-professional photography for about 5 to 10 years, but
Yeah.
this was the first time that I got to shoot a concert kind of setting.
Oh,
And we were there for our college newspaper,
uh-huh.
because I decided to go back to community college and mess around with that for a while because I do things like that. And I was taking their journalism program, and I was doing their photojournalism for that.
Mm-hmm.
And Adrian Taylor, I think you follow each other on
Yes.
Instagram. Yeah, he was
Yes.
there too. We were both there, kind of covering the event, and we both were like, "Oh my God, they're gonna have live music!" And we both kind of had that, like, I've always wanted to shoot a concert thing.
Yeah.
So we just kind of hung out there the entire time. Like we took our pictures of the Pride Festival and whatnot, but then we just hung out there.
Yes.
And Ron Blakely, I think, was one of the openers.
Mhm.
And he has such an amazing voice, and he's so much fun to photograph because he's so passionate and sweaty, and just you can tell he's getting into it. And I had
Yes.
actually photographed him in a production of The Little Mermaid
Mm-hmm.
at the school as well. And so I kind of like I knew him, so I was like, oh my God, that's somebody I know. And then like the other people that played, it was all very different kinds of music. Like there was the one guy that just played the keyboard, um, and so it gave me a lot of new experiences in that one show. And then you came out, and it was like you just exploded all over the stage. Like you were just everywhere, and you were popping and moving, and it was like, oh my God, I got to catch these. I got to catch this.
Yes.
And the whole time I'm thinking, none of these are going to come out. None of these are going to come out. And I
Mhm.
actually got a few good shots, and I think I walked away just learning so much. But Adrian and I, after that, had talked, and we're like, oh my God, that was so much fun. Like I've got to do that again. And
Yes.
so that just kind of started me on a quest to figure out, like, how do you do concert photography? How do you get to where you want to be, and get into those kinds of settings and get access and all that kind of stuff. And so
Yes.
him and I together kind of started up a local online publication for
Mhm.
concerts, theater, drag shows, that kind of stuff. And we just started shooting it, and now we're getting access to like shows at the Toyota Arena and the Honda Center and House of Blues and just all over the place. So it's been great. It's been a great experience.
That's amazing. And I love how it had, like you said, it had blossom, and you just keep going forward and going at it. You know what I'm saying? And it's so many opening. And I love your photography. I'm a fan. You send me the photos that you captured me. So you got my support fully.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. I wanted to know, I know you said that you have been capturing moments for concerts, theater, and drag performances.
Mm-hmm.
What has been one of your favorite concerts that you had captured?
That's such a hard question to answer. Because there's been a lot. Like, I think my absolute favorite, and the one I walked away just kind of shaking from, was I shot the Dropkick Murphys at the Toyota Arena.
Yeah.
And it was it was kind of a twofold situation, because it was my very first large arena show. And so when you get there, it's different from like other smaller venues, because you have to meet up with the media liaison, and they take you to a green room and they escort you the entire time. Mm-hmm. So you're never like, normally that you just walk in and you can go down to the pit, you can meander about, but with these larger arenas, they escort you around. And in the green room, one of the other photographers that was sitting there was a guy that I follow on Instagram and have followed him for years. And he's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to like look into doing concert photography, like, because his pictures were always just amazing. And so I sat there awkwardly silent for like 10 minutes because I don't like to interact socially. But then I was finally like, hey, are you Steve Rose? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay, so weird, creepy fanboy, but I follow you, and I really like your photos, and you're a big inspiration for me. And he was so nice, and he was just like, we spent the entire night in between the sets, like talking about like what I should do next and where I should go and how I should do this, and he just gave me like a whole bunch of information. He was super nice about it. And then the show itself, the lead singer for the Dropkick Murphys is super interactive with the crowd. So and I don't know if you know, like for shows and stuff, concert photographers, they're in the front pit area.
Yes.
So we're like in between the stage and the rails where the crowd is stuck, right?
Yes.
And so for their show, they closed off the middle part of it, and that was kind of like, oh, that's annoying. But then it was because he was coming out and walking across the pit into the crowd.
Oh, wow.
And so I got like all these shots of him like reaching his hand out with the crowd like reaching their hands out, and it was just like some super cool moments and shots that I pulled from that. And I was like, oh, and I was like, when I left, I was like, this is what it is. This is the adrenaline rush. And I had not gotten that from the other types of photography. Like when you're sitting out and you're shooting a sunset, it's gorgeous.
Yes.
But you don't have that adrenaline rush. Like, and I know for like you as a performer, I'm sure you understand what that's like. But I got just a little bit of taste of that. So I just loved it.
I love that. And yeah, when that adrenaline kicks in that moment, it just does something to you, like with chills all over your body. So I know when you was in that moment with the artist and the crowd, and it's like, oh my God, like let me capture this because it's so legendary. You know what I'm saying? So I know that was a powerful moment for you.
It was incredible. And it was one more of the steps as we went along that just continued to like that you're making the right choice. You're doing what you want to do. Like keep going,
Keep going. And I know that you have said that he was one of your inspirations. I want to take it back. When you had first started your photography journey, do you remember what was one of your first cameras that you have ever owned it? And also I want to know, what is like one of your favorite cameras that you like to use?
I think the first one that I had was a Canon EOS 1 or yeah, way back in the day, film camera, mid 80s. My mother was a professional photographer, so she did weddings and like baby photos and stuff like that. One of the bedrooms in our house used to be a photo studio that she would march her clients through and stuff. And so when she would upgrade her cameras, I would just kind of grab one and waste film essentially.
Yeah.
So that was my first camera. Right now I shoot with a Sony A7 IV.
Okay.
It's a full frame mirrorless, and I I was shooting with a Tamron 7180, but I
Oh,
broke that lens last week.
oh no.
Um, taking pictures of Adrian, actually.
Oh my
Um,
God.
so, but I got that replaced. So now I'm going to be shooting with the Sigma 7200 2.8, which is a beautiful lens, very fast. So yeah, camera equipment's it's when it's a hobby. Like I still kind of consider it a hobby. Like right on the cusp of like turning it into kind of a professional side gig.
Yeah.
But it's so expensive. I mean, my camera bag has about $6,000 worth of equipment in it, and that's just three
Wow.
lenses and a camera.
Yeah.
And so it's you don't want to break stuff. So
You do not. And like
yeah.
I'm a big tech fan too. I love cameras. Like one of my favorite cameras is the Canon T6i Rebel. That's one I shoot
Mhm.
real messed
Yeah.
up. So I know how like those lenses can be like so expensive and everything. So I
Yeah.
commend you for making sure you got your protection for everything and you keeping it going and you get it popping for real.
Yeah.
Yes.
Speaking of protection, I had to shoot Guar. Have you ever heard of Guar?
Oh, what's that?
Guar is this weird like late 80s, early 90s cult band. Like
Oh,
they never got super popular, but they got this really crazy cult following.
wow.
And if you ever remember Beavis and Butthead,
Yeah, of course, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Beavis and Butthead talked about Guar all the time. They
Mm.
were like Guar.
Oh, I remember
Yeah.
that.
So that's a band, and they come out in these weird costumes, and they
Yeah.
bring out these celebrity effigies,
Uh-huh.
and they basically kill the celebrity effigies on stage, and the blood and whatever just sprays out all over the audience. And so
What?
the audience comes in like all white so
Yes.
that they can get as gross as possible from this. And so as the photographer, I was like, wait, like they're gonna be doing
Wait.
what now?
Yes.
So
Like what?
I had to bring full rain gear for my camera and everything because it just got like completely splattered with the fake blood and poo, and
Yes.
it was so gross.
That
And
is,
afterwards, I'm like, I'm glad I did it, but I'm never doing it again.
yeah.
So,
I gotta go on Google on YouTube and look at this. I never really heard of that. Like I remember, Beavis and Butthead, and I remember them saying that. But I didn't know like what they were really, talking about. But
right.
I'm gonna take a look and see what's going on and see.
They are a very bizarre experience in concert.
Yes. But
So,
sometimes like that's what you would like go for, and see what's going on, to experience that yourself. So I wanna go check it out too and see what's popping.
yes.
Yeah. I wanna say I love your business name, Shutter Bear Photography.
Thank
I want
you.
to You're welcome. I want to ask you, how did you come up with your business name and what does your business mean to you?
So there's a common expression with photographers that they get called shutterbugs.
Uh-huh.
So like people, like, oh, you're a shutterbug because you like taking photos.
Hmm.
I am a gay man, and I am a large, hairy gay man, and I am in the gay subculture of bears.
Yes.
And so I just was like, oh, I'm not a shutterbug, I'm a shutter bear. And so everybody would just kind of call me that. And then so when I needed like an Instagram name for my photography, I was like, oh, Shutter Bear Photography. That makes sense.
I love it. I love
Yeah,
it.
so I like that a lot. It's kind of become my moniker, and yeah. So
Yes. I love it. And I love your logo. I love when everything is thought out, and unique. So I commend you for that because it's really
thank
how
you.
that. You're welcome. Also, I want to say, I want to thank you so much for sharing your story with me. I received your email and everything, and I appreciate that. And I wanted to ask you, I understand that you spent 36 years in a high control, fundamental Christian cult. As a
Yes.
young gay male, what was that experience like for you?
Difficult. So the cult is Jehovah's Witnesses.
Okay.
So they're kind of a lot of people don't really consider them a cult. I
Mhm.
make it a point to kind of reference them that way because they are very much on that level.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's you grow up in it, I think a lot of or people who grew up in religions that are LGBT have this experience where they they grow up and they hear this constant, there's something wrong with you, you're an abomination, God doesn't love you, all of that kind of thing. And it with the Jehovah's Witnesses, it goes so much deeper than that because every aspect of your life is monitored and controlled by them. And
Mm-hmm.
so, like, I remember every school year, it would start off with like, well, Armageddon is going to come before the school year's out. So you're not going to finish this year of school.
Oh my
And it was
goodness.
this constant threat that Armageddon, the end of the world, was coming because they're an apocalyptic religion.
Mm.
And so, you were never encouraged to do well in school because why would you waste your time? Like, don't waste your time with that. You need to do kingdom interest stuff or whatever. And so there
Yes.
was that constant like focus your attention here, not here. And
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't go to college. I didn't do well in high school. But it's like these moments kept coming and going, and it's like, okay, I graduated high school,
Right.
so now this hasn't come yet or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I was 16, I actually graduated high school when I was 16, but that year, um, I had gotten in trouble with another boy in my congregation.
Okay.
We had been fooling around and got caught, and so we were religiously punished.
Oh my goodness.
And um, about a year and a half later, the elders in the congregation came up to me and they said, you're almost 18, and if you don't get married, then we're going to assume that you're still a homosexual and we're going to treat you as such.
Wow.
And so I ended up having to get married to basically like the first girl that showed any interest in me.
Oh my God.
And she was like, she was trying to get out of her own bad situation by getting married.
Yeah.
Um, so we got married. We spent 18 years together. It was miserable for both of us. And eventually I left the religion because more so because I realized it was a cult than I did because I was gay. Because by that point I had repressed it so far that if somebody had asked me, it would never even really occurred to me that I was gay.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so when I decided to leave, I told my then wife, like, hey, I left. And since we pretty much were only staying together because of this, do you want to keep trying or do you want to call it quits? And she
Right.
was like, no, I'm good. See ya.
Oh
And,
wow.
and so we split up. She's like, peace. Um, and I moved out to the IE and I had a probably year and a half journey of spiritual and personal discovery. I came out. Um, I I studied. I read the Bible twice. I read the Quran. I read the Bhagavad Gita's. I read some of Confucius. I just kind of went on this like journey of like partly because when I realized that the gay thing was a thing, like this is who I am. This is what I am. I
Yes.
still didn't know like what does God want from me,
Mm-hmm.
and so I wanted to go on my own personal discovery to kind of determine that. And I
Right.
ended up walking away basically mostly atheist.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I at the time was super militantly atheist. So back then, you and I would have this long conversation about why you should not believe in God. But
Right.
now I'm much more like, people have their own personal spiritual journeys that they go on, and that's for them. And you know,
Yes.
don't yuck somebody else's yum kind of thing. So,
Right.
but yeah, so it was a long journey. At 36 when I left,
Uh-huh.
I'm basically what's considered middle age at that point, and I hadn't even started my life. I had like
Yeah.
$300 to my name, because part of being a JW is that you don't have a 401k, you don't save for the future, you don't, because you have all of that ingrained in your head that this world's coming to an end.
Yes.
And so it's been a long journey of finding like stability and financial security and
Yes.
kind of where I wanted to be. It's part of why I went back to college was because I had never gone, and so I wanted to go and have that experience.
Right.
Um, and so I work at a university, so it felt weird that I had never been to college. And so, um, but yeah, so that's
Wow. Well, I want to say that was very powerful, and I will commend you and proud of you for like standing up for yourself and living in your truth. Because I know how difficult that is. I've been through that.
yeah.
Like
Hmm.
standing in your truth, and with everything that you and everything, like it's just powerful that you had shared that with us for anyone that is going through that journey. That maybe in religion, because sometimes religion can be stuck on us from our parents. They say that you're going to hell, which I don't believe. I believe that God loves everyone. So yeah, I just want to commend you for telling your truth and leading others to be authentic to themselves for sure. So thank you for
Yeah,
that.
it's
Yeah.
it's important. I mean, as difficult as it was, because I mean, when you leave the JWs, especially, your family's required to shun you. I haven't seen my brother and my sister in 14 years,
Right.
other than a brief like 4 or 5 hour visit with my parents because of my dad's health issues. I haven't seen
Mhm.
them in 15 years,
Oh my goodness.
and they are required to consider me as being dead, and so
Wow.
there's just no contact whatsoever. And so it's very difficult. It's a very difficult decision to make. And, um, but it is so important because as difficult as that was, being
Mhm.
true to who I was, living my authentic life,
Yes.
understanding that truth and being like, that's so freeing. And that's
Yes.
so much more. And your chosen family in the LGBT community is
Mhm.
also just like so much stronger, and that love is so much more unconditional and available for you. So it's yeah. If you
Yes.
haven't and you want to do it,
Yes.
live your truth.
Live your truth for real, for real. I want to ask you to anyone in the world that is like facing difficulties to get out of a situation. What advice or encouraging words would you like to give them? I mean, you spoke on like just come on out, being authentic to yourself. Like, do you have any message that you like to give to them that are listening?
Yeah, find your community. Especially if you're in a community that is controlling or abusive, like I was,
Mm-hmm.
find a way to establish a community outside of that. Even if
Yes.
you know have to live a double life or hide things for a while, it's difficult. But having that foundation to when you fall out of this community, having another community that's there to catch you is so important. And there were so many people that I had kind of become friends with, kind of on the side, secretly, who knew what I was going through. And when I did make that plunge, were there to help me. And I don't think I would have survived without them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
that's to me, that's the biggest thing is try not to walk away without a place to go.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and have your community ready there and let them know so that they can help you and support you, and they will. They're gonna do that. So
Yes. I love that. Especially you mentioned community. Community is so important. And that's what I love about the LGBTQ plus community is that we support each other and we show up for each other, and
mhm,
we have those places that if anyone needs assistance for housing, that you can reach out for assistance. So yeah, community, and we're here for you and we're here to support you. So just come
for
out, y'all,
sure.
and love yourself.
Exactly.
Love yourself and you're gonna be good. And also, I want to ask you, with the new year of 2025 being here, what does starting over means to you?
I think we all went through the dark times with COVID,
Mm-hmm.
and we all came out different than we went in. And so I think for me, like 2024 was very much about refocusing and figuring out exactly the directions that I wanted to go and where my paths were. And I think
Yeah.
2025, I think I'm ready to actually start walking those paths now and getting like channeling my goals, channeling. So it's like, because I have a tendency to be very shotgunny. Like I'm doing
Mhm.
this, and now I'm doing that, and now I'm doing this, and
Yes.
now it's like I think I've really got my focus set for like these are the things that I want to accomplish in 2025. This is
Love
where I
it.
want to be at the end of 2025, and
Yeah.
so I think I have a lot more focus for this new year.
I love it. I love it. Are you like a visual person? Like, do you make vision boards or do you like write it down?
Um, I have vision boards in my head,
I know that's right.
and like I
Right.
don't, I'm not much on the actual vision board things, but I
Mhm.
a lot of my time is spent like this is here, this is there, and I'm a very big planner. I know I have some ADHD going on because I plan, and then I procrastinate, and then I don't do anything until the last second, uh,
Yes.
and then I change all the plans, and then I do this over here. But it's, I think it's, for me, it's very much like I everything has to be scheduled.
Yes.
Like my calendar is my security blanket, and
Yes.
every little minutia goes on there to remind me you're doing this in an hour, you're doing that tomorrow, this is happening next week. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's been the biggest part for me.
I love it. I love it. Like being organized is like a big factor of being successful. So if anybody watching, listening, make sure you stay organized all over 2025. That's how you be successful. Yes, do it.
Exactly.
Do
And
you
do what you need to do. If you need a whiteboard and you need to like scroll that out and do it, like it's, yeah.
do what you gotta do? Do it. Write it
Hmm.
out. Put a word 24 here. You got it. Yes. I was gonna
Exactly.
ask you, do you have any upcoming projects coming up that you like to share with us?
We're taking the Riverside scene kind of up a notch this next year, so that's gonna that's the name of the publication that we do.
Yeah.
We're looking at shooting. Right now we're shooting about 70% of the larger local shows. I want to get that up to a clean 100 and just be like, I want to be covering everything that's happening in Riverside for sure,
Yeah.
and then expanding that out a bit in the greater, because we kind of consider the greater Riverside area, so some Anaheim, some Santa Ana. So that's been my primary focus, is kind of making sure that what we're providing to our community of followers is comprehensive, so
Yeah.
that they're not like, oh, well, I never heard about this, or I never heard about that. Like, I want them to know, like, this is where you need to be, this is where you need to go, this is what's happening.
Right.
And then once we have that, we'll be able to kind of balloon that out into creating our own events, sponsoring our own events, kind of bringing in that kind of community and that kind of thing. So that's
Uh-huh.
my end goal for 2025, is making sure that by the end of 2025, we have a community of people who are following us, that are looking for us to provide them with that information so that we can kind of take the lead on that.
I love it. I love it. It's so much to look forward to in 2025.
Mhm.
Where can our followers follow you at and follow your journey, your photography, and everything? What are your social handles?
I'm mostly Instagram at this point because Facebook is so weird, and I'm too young for Facebook. I'm too old for TikTok, and Instagram's kind of right where I need to be.
Yes,
So,
yes, really.
but we're at the Riverside Scene, is the publication. That's where you'll find Adrian and I, and we have a couple of other photographers and a couple other reporters that do some stuff for us. And then Shutter Bear Photography is my own personal kind of, I want to say artsy
Yes,
photography, as well as a vehicle that I'm going to set forward for like bands and theater companies that want to book me to actually shoot their show. Um,
yes,
and so that's going to be available there. And then I have one other one, Stephen Day Photography, which is kind of a personal business of personal portraits.
awesome.
Um, so I portrait photography frustrates me in that I don't like people in front of a back, like a Olin Mills backdrop with the light, and it's like, put your chin down, turn your face this way, look
Right.
over here. I hate that kind of posing. And
Yeah.
so I wanted to create an experience where somebody like a drag queen or a cosplayer or a surfer or a football player are like, I want to be showcased in the thing that I do. And
Yes,
so like shooting a drag queen in drag, shooting a cosplayer in their cosplay, shooting a
right.
surfer while he's surfing. You know, these are the types of personal portraits that I want to create with people. And so that's kind of another journey that that's my like fourth journey that I'm setting off over here. Um, and so yeah, that's where you'll find me on the interwebs.
Yes, I love it. And I love that how you say like you want to capture that moment, like living in that moment and capturing that moment so it can live forever, you know?
Yeah,
Because photography is such, a powerful thing because it can last us forever, for
yeah.
generations. So I commend you on that. And royalties, and make sure you go follow Stephen Day on all those social platforms and go book him. He has fire photography. So you hear it here first.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Stephen Day, I want to thank you so much for coming to sharing your story today here at TTP, the Transetter Podcast. Thank you for being an inspiration to all of us. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for living authentically, being bold, and being fearless, and for uplifting the community. So thank you for real. I appreciate you.
And thank you. This is a great show. It's a great idea, and I'm really happy to that you're doing it because it's going to be a fantastic journey for people to go on.
Thank you, love. I appreciate that so much. All right,
So
royalty. We're going to wrap it up today. I am your girl, Nikith, and I want to thank you so much for tuning in. You can follow us on all platforms at the Transetter Pod. And once again, I'll see y'all next week on a new episode. We love you. Bye, royalties.